Welcome to Cornell Cooperative Extension of Tompkins County and our monthly Consumer Issues program. I'm Carol Fisher, Consumer Educator here at Cooperative Extension. Thanks for joining us today as we explore how to be a wise consumer in the utility market. The utility market has expanded over the past few years so that instead of just having our gas and electric, now we have our natural gas, fuel oil, propane perhaps, but also things like internet, cable, sometimes the telephones. We have several different services coming into our homes. So the whole area has really gotten more complex and complicated, and therefore we have many more decisions to make. So one of our goals today is to help you understand all of these utilities, what kind of decisions and choices you have, and how to make wise decisions as a consumer. Today we're very pleased to have with us Assistant New York State Attorney General Mike Danaher, who will explore these issues about utilities with us, answer our questions, and provide information so that we can make wise decisions and what to do if we run into any problems despite all our research and our best intentions. So welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Carol. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our session here at Cornell Cooperative Extension. This is not the sexiest topic that we talk about as far as consumer frauds, but vitally important for people to be good consumers. We frequently advocate for the consumers out there that they're required to be a good consumer. There are rights associated with consumer as well as consumer protections that are out there, but really all those do is attempt to level the playing field so that one side doesn't have a particular advantage over the other side other than through market forces. But it doesn't hand things to you on a silver platter. So the important thing that we have to do is we have to take the information that the consumer laws and protections give us and then utilize those to make the best decisions that are for us. And everybody's circumstances are different. So what may be good for you may be different than what is good for me. So what is important is that we have to be good consumers. And it is also true in the utility market. It used to be many years ago that nobody really thought much about the utility market because there was nothing to decide. It was you called the company and company turned on your phone, turned on your gas, turned on your electric, and then you got a bill every month and you didn't have any say in it, and so you just paid it and moved on. Well, there's many other opportunities that are available out there for all of us, giving us many different options. We have to be good consumers, evaluate what our needs are, and make the decision as to what works best for us. And that is true in being a good consumer. There is a very distinct difference between what our needs are and what our wants are. And we, as good consumers, have to be able to understand and differentiate between the two and choose what is something that we need and then make the ultimate decision of whether or not we can satisfy our wants as well. So that leads up to our decisions as it relates to the different utilities that we're involved in. We didn't before necessarily have choices, but now we do. Let's take the classic circumstance of our utilities coming into our house of our gas and electric. Again, we used to just call the gas and electric company. They came and turned it on, and we got a bill and we had to pay it. And historically, we did not have any choices. But that has changed more recently. and it's changed. Some people think that the gates have opened completely and it's completely consumer choice who you pick. Well, it's true to some extent. It's a slight ability for us to change. For example, we can't choose the company that delivers the gas and electric to our house. That's pretty well set in the community. Some communities, it's downstate, it'd be Con Ed, it's National Grid that may do it. It is NYSEG territories as well. I know in my area in Binghamton, NYSEG is the provider of the deliverer. So they're the ones in charge of the poles and the wires as it gets to our house and making sure that that service is there. The prices associated with that go through the Public Service Commission. They have to make rate applications to the Public Service Commission, and that they can charge what the Public Service Commission allows them to do. So the rates are governed by that. And if somebody has a concern about the rate that is being charged by the deliverer of the utilities, then they can take that up with the Public Service Commission. But there's a way to split the deliverer of the utility from the one who actually supplies the energy that gets into the lines, the gas that gets into the pump or to the pipe, and the electricity, the current that gets into the actual wire itself, because there is where there is competition available to us. Several years ago, the state opened up the ability for different companies to be the provider of the gas or the provider of the current that comes over the lines, and allow us as consumers to choose who we want to be the one that supplies that. And it's a term called an ESCO. So it's an energy service company that will supply the energy to us. So there's a supply side and there's a delivery side. Delivery you can't really do much about, but the supply side you can. And there are many different providers. It used to be they were really limited when it first got going, but there's a significant number of suppliers out there of energy, and you can choose. And they use different types of sources for their energy. There may be a green option if you are one who is committed to the green energy and wants your service to be provided through green sources, wind, solar, water, hydropower. You can actually choose a company based on where they derive their energy from, the source of that energy. And you can make those decisions. And again, that's something that each of us has our own choices about. And in actuality, who supplies the energy really only affects a smaller percentage of your bill. It may be 20 to 30% of your bill would be the supply charge, and the rest is just how much it costs to get the energy to you. We have to be a good consumer in choosing what types of energy or what types of supplier we want. Before I came over today, I actually went on the website. There is the Public Service Commission, agency of the state of New York, that actually has a website that has the different providers of both gas and electric, and lists them, and lists the current price. I don't know how current it is. I don't know how frequently they have to update that, but you can see. And there are different options available. Like I said, there's green energy. There are variable rates, which means exactly what it says, which is that it varies from month to month based on the cost of the generating the energy. And I say energy meaning gas and electric. Generating that, drilling for gas and getting into the pipelines and whatever it costs to put the energy through the electric line. And there can be a variable rate, which I'm told is over the last certain period of time, year or so, if you chose a variable rate, even though the rate goes like that, it worked out to be, at least in this last year or so, that it may have been that the variable rate over the course of a period of time may have been a little bit lower than what the fixed rate was, but you run the risk that some years variable, the rates could go higher. So again, based on your own individual circumstances, do I choose a fixed rate and a fixed rate provider, or do I choose a variable rate provider? And there are some entities that have variable and fixed rates, so you can choose within that provider itself whether you want the fixed rate or the variable rate. The other thing is when you sign up for gas or electric energy, are you going to be bound to a contract? And the only really important thing of being bound to the contract is there a cancellation fee if you want to get out of that contract? And sometimes there's a fee charge associated with it. And you say, well, the fee doesn't matter to me because I'm really not going to change, so I'd be willing to sign up. But then there are others that say, well, I want the ability to be able to get out of this contract if I can get out of this contract with no fee. So I want to make sure that I sign up for a provider, variable or fixed rate, that is not going to charge me a fee if I find out that all of a sudden the rates plummet. And then I'm not stuck and I can get out without it costing anything. So there's more competition available. And the most important thing is us to be aware of what's out there and then be able to make that good decision. Because the worst thing that can happen is there are people that are out there soliciting you to switch from your supplier to their supplier. You want to be in the best position that you can be to make an informed decision. Maybe this person who solicits you doesn't realize that you really know what's going on, and you can check rates, and you'll get on the phone and you'll call somebody and say, hey, what's your rate? And they'll try to get you to switch over. And if you aren't a good consumer, you say, oh, I didn't realize there were other options out there. Sure, I'll sign up with you. And you find out that you're charged so much more than what you would have been if you, one, stayed with the provider that you have, or two, did your due diligence and found another provider that might give it to you at a lower rate. So we still have to be good consumers and not be herded around by someone else. We want to have control over our own utility decisions. There are ways that maybe you can arrange with your provider to be on a budget. And that means that you have kind of an even payment over a period of time. I know that it appears to me more recently that the budgets reset more frequently than they used to. It used to be you had this set budget, and okay, you're going to pay a certain amount per month. And then you got near the end, and in the last month or two, there had to be an adjustment. Either you've been overpaying for that period of time, or you've been underpaying, and all of a sudden you get whacked with this huge payment that you have to make to check the differential. I know on my bill through NYSEG, it actually says on it, how far off I am. And I know that I believe that mine resets like every quarter now, rather than at the end of every year. So there's kind of an adjustment period that's more frequent, which is to my benefit, I think, as a consumer, in that I can see and get my payment fluctuated in a less drastic measure than at the end of having to all of a sudden make up this huge differential if I needed to. There are also companies out there that sell in different ways. There's some you would never hear about unless you get on the phone and you call them. But there are times we get things in the mail that tells us, hey, switch your energy to this, that, and the other thing, which, like any solicitation by mail, you have to be a good consumer. That includes reading the small print. So if they tell you that your electric would be a certain certain amount of kilowatt hours, it's 6 cents or whatever, and there's a little asterisk next to it. You got to go and look what that asterisk means. And you have to see that, well, that's only an introductory rate, and it's only good for 30 days. And then after that, you go to the regular market rate, and you go, whoa, you find out the regular market rate is 12 cents a kilowatt hour or something. You want to be assured that when you read that you understand what that means. It's not, hey, for as long as you're with them, you're going to get 6 cents a kilowatt hour. It may not be that way. So you want to make sure that you understand that. So there are solicitations we receive in the mail. There are solicitations we receive over the telephone, so people may call us to switch. I would encourage you, don't make rash decisions. So if they want you to switch immediately upon your telephone call, you need to assure them that no, you are not switching. If they want to send you whatever literature they have or provide you with a website that you can go look at that sort of thing, then you can make your decision. That's the best thing for you. I do know that we frequently get into trouble as consumers when we try to make those rash decisions without doing our due diligence, doing our research. There are entities out there that are selling, come to the door and sell. There's an entity out there called Ambit Energy that uses the Amway type of sales presentation, which means that they use multi-level marketing, so they have people that go out and you can become a distributor, and then you get people to work for you and go out. Similar to Amway is with selling consumer products. Ambit Energy, not affiliated with Amway, but Ambit Energy, that sells along the same multi-level marketing plan. So they'll have your neighbors might become sales associates or sales reps, and they will be contacting you. Again, it doesn't matter to me how that process goes on. The thing that matters to me is that you be informed consumers and treat the Ambit Energy sales rep who comes to you in the same way you would any other solicitation that you would receive. Find out what the rates are. Get whatever it is in writing. Make sure it's in writing. If you look up something on the internet, an energy provider on the internet, print off the materials that they have so that when you sign up for it, if what you end up getting isn't what is advertised, that you have backup so that it can't be a he said, she said thing where the company would come back and say, we never said that. We never said it would be that rate. It's better to have everything in documentation. So when the person comes over to your house to sell you and have you switch over, get everything in writing. Get the brochures, get whatever paperwork they have. Make sure that what you are being told is exactly the way that it is being described in the literature so that you can make the informed decision. The rates for electric and gas for the ESCO providers are available at the PSC. The website is Public Service Commission. Is dps.ny.gov. You can go on and look for that, for the rates for the utilities. You can choose your power. It's called Choose Your Power. So I would go and investigate all the different options you have, variable, fixed, and then make the best decision that's for you. But we have other utilities that we also come face to face with. A lot of time we don't think about it as well. But one is our telephone service. Many more options now than when I first went out 16 years ago, came out to 16 years ago to the Cornell Cooperative Extension to start doing these programs. Cell phones are now all over the place. It used to be that you'd see the person with the big clunky one that they would have, or the one that was attached to your car. That's the first one I had. It was actually attached to my car, and I was one of the rare ones that had one back in those days. Now it's everybody has one, and it even's gotten to the point now. I know my daughter, my oldest daughter, who's out of the house, she doesn't have a landline phone in her house. All she does is go off of her cell phone. So there's people that, and a friend of ours in our neighborhood just turned their phone off because they are living completely off their cell phones. So it's a choice that we as consumers have to make. Do we have the landline phone? Do we have just cell phone? And what services do we have that are associated with that particular phone? Our landline phone, I call them the hardwired phones. We have telephone companies out there that that will provide that to us, whether it's Frontier or AT&T or whoever it is that provides the landline phone. And now we can get our phone through our cable providers. So you can have the phone there, and you can, what they refer to as bundle it. You can have your cable and your internet and your telephone all bundled in with your service provider. Again, it depends on what works best for you. You have to be a good consumer and investigate all of your options. Investigate your rates. If I decide that we have cable and I don't want TV anymore, so I'm going to just keep the phone, but I need an internet connection, I keep that. What's the charge and all that sort of thing. We have to be good consumers. And it used to be with our telephone, it was just you could have whatever phone you could have whatever color phone it was that you wanted as long as it was black. And it was the rotary dial. I still have one at home. I still have a rotary dial telephone at home. But now we have all different types of options and providers. We always had do you have a local provider, and then do you have a long distance provider separate? With the bundling, you can get it all together in one fee. And do you have to pay for your long distance charges? And there was always the long distance charges. People didn't understand, even though you called within the 607 area code, it wasn't always a local telephone call. And there was Intralata, which is within your 607 area code, and Interlata, which was among area codes. So difference between 607 and 315. And we got different rates for our long distance service, whether it was Intralata or Interlata. And we as good consumers have to decide, well, all of my long distance telephone calls, I don't call everybody I call could be a local call. Everybody I know is in the Ithaca area, and I live in the Ithaca area. I don't, but I live in the Ithaca area. And so I'm just going to call people in the Ithaca area. So I don't need a long distance provider because I just call local. And then if I do call people long distance, it's going to be outside the 607 area code. So when I'm a good consumer, my focus is on what rates am I going to be charged in the 315 area code or the 518 area code. I don't care what they're going to charge me within the 607 area code because all my calls are local. But let's take the circumstances where I did this once when I was young and naive and I didn't know. I got this call. Hey, we can do your long distance for 5 cents a minute. And at that time, that was a good deal because it might be 10 cents a minute. So I agreed to sign on. Well, it turns out that all I was getting was Interlata, which any call outside the 607 area code, I was getting at 5 cents a minute. But inside the 607 area code that turned into a long distance call, for example, I'm originally from the Chemung County area, Elmira, Horseheads area, but I live in the Binghamton area. So my family is in the Horseheads area, and I was in the Binghamton area, and that was, although all within 607, it was a long distance call. So all of my long distance calls that I thought I was getting at 5 cents a minute were actually at about 15 cents a minute because I was never calling outside of 607. I wasn't a good consumer. And then I called the company and said, oh, no, we never said that. We just said that your long distance calls, which would be outside the area, outside the 607 area code. So I had to get that straightened around. So we have to be good consumers in sitting back and saying, okay, what am I getting for this telephone service? Those of you that are switching over to cell phones saying I'm getting rid of my local landline, I've had a number of people who have complained to me because they ended up signing up for cell phones and found out they didn't get coverage where they lived. The coverage was spotty where they lived. Make sure when you sign on, and there are many cellular telephone providers, make sure when you sign on that the phone is going to be able to be used in the area where you're going to use it the most. So if you're going to, let's say you cut off your landline and you're just going to use a cell phone, well, make sure that the company that you go with has good coverage for your area, because there's nothing more frustrating than signing up and not having a phone, and then all of a sudden you have to go outside to the corner of your property in order to get a strong enough signal to be able to make the calls that you want to make. So you really have to investigate. And everybody's map is different, and everybody's cell phone towers are different. It's getting much better. Coverage is getting much better, but check that out. Also, the other thing that you need to check out with those of you with your cell phones is if you're going to do a lot of traveling, and it might be traveling out of the country, that there may be different rates charged, and that you are not going to be charged on your basic plan for calls that are to overseas or to across country. I mean, I know when I had a cell phone once, I went for a weekend, we went to Canada and used my cell phone. All of a sudden I had these charges on my cell phone bill. I said, why is that? Well, once we went into Canada, it became an international call, and there's a different rate associated with international calls. I know there are some people who may make a trip to Europe, let's say, and that they will get a separate cell phone for service in Europe, separate from the one that is their regular cell phone, because they can get different rates that are cheaper. Again, you have to be consumers and investigate all the different options based on what your use is. I mean, if you're a homebody and live in Ithaca and don't really go anywhere else, whatever coverage Ithaca makes you happy, and you're good. But you have to investigate. So there are many different options that are available with that. The other thing is if you're going to sign up for a contract, whether it's less likely with a hardline phone, but could be is very real when it comes to cell phones. Understand what you're getting when you sign up for it. Do you have a contract, and for how long? And you understand all the terms, meaning that when you sign up for this contract, you're bound for that period of time. And there's a fee associated with trying to cancel if you cancel before the end of the contract. That will frequently occur in the circumstance where you go in and get your new cell phone. And the cell phones are frequently discounted, although some of the cell phone providers are now getting away from supplementing the cost of cell phones. But if you go in and you say, okay, you can get this fancy dancy cell phone, I call it the fancy dancy one with all the bells and whistles, that the latest craze that my daughter always wants. My youngest daughter always has to have the latest crazed cell phone. So she's just chomping at the bit to wait till the end of our contract so that it's time, the door opens again to go out and get new cell phones. But if you get a cell phone, the fancy dancy cell phone, at a discounted rate, that's typically discounted for you because you are bound for 2 years at whatever number. I tend to start losing my breath when I see my cell phone bill come in every month as to how expensive that thing is, because of all the kids are all on it and stuff. But because that bill is what it is, we're bound to it for the length of the contract, because they're helping, by us paying that much money over the course of 2 years, we're actually paying for that new phones that we got over the course of that 2-year contract. And if we are able to terminate sooner, the company loses money. So they want to recoup it over the whole contract. So you have to see if you're getting these plans that you're signing up for, that you're bound for that period of time, and understand what the terms are that you're bound by, and that you would not be able to get out of it. And so you might be more apt to say, hey, I'm better off paying the full price for the cell phone and getting a contract that I don't necessarily have to be bound to for any length of time. The interesting thing also is now with the cell phones is that the numbers are portable. And it used to be that we always knew that when we dialed when we dialed 315-555-5555, that we were calling Syracuse area. You know, the 315. That's not true anymore. You could be talking to the person next door on their cell phone, and they have a 315 cell phone number, because the numbers that we have are now portable. So you can transfer your number from one place to the next. So now it's getting to the point in time where when we leave a message for someone, we have to leave the entire telephone number, including area code, because we can't just assume anymore that we're talking to someone that is in our local area where we don't have to put in the area code. I just think that's an interesting phenomenon that's now occurring, because I know for a matter of fact that my oldest daughter lives in Texas now, but she still has a 607 area code. And so anybody that calls her has to call the 607 number. Then there are other options that are still out there and available to us, like prepaid phone cards, where you can get cards that allow you to make long-distance calls using the card. Again, investigate the circumstances of the card, investigate and understand what the terms of that card are. There have been instances where somebody said, well, it's 5 cents a minute or 2 cents a minute. But then, if you really look at the details of it, it's 2 cents a minute plus 25 cents a call. So every time that you call, it really is not 2 cents a minute, because you always get hit with a 25-cent charge whenever it is, and the card could get eaten up much faster. We have to be good consumers when it's related to that. We also are having many other options available for our TV viewing pleasures. There's cable. That used to be the only game in town. And I can remember when I first got cable as a kid, my parents got cable, I thought that was the greatest thing in the world. I mean, we were able to get 13 channels when we got our first cable. We weren't stuck with the 3 or 4 channels that we had locally. We could have a whole 13 channels. And there was this new station that came on for me as a youth, was just a wonderful thing. It was this thing called the Entertainment Sports Programming Network, which for those of you out there now is ESPN. And it was just starting. I thought, wow, there's going to be sports on all the time. Now there are 25 gazillion sports channels, and from all different parts of the country. And there's food, there's channels on how teach you how to cook, and there's channels that teach you how to fix your house up, and there's channels that just follow people in their life on a daily basis that for some reason people are just enamored with, and that just follow these crazy people all over the place. And there's just all kinds of stuff out there that's available now. But it's now not just cable. We have options of satellite dishes that we can have attached to our house that provide us with programming. Again, similar with the cellular telephones, make sure you understand what you're signing up for. I know frequently with the satellite dishes that are out there, satellite programming that's available, that you usually have to sign up for a contract. And somebody comes to your house and puts one of those dishes on the house. And it's similar to you getting a new cell phone. There's a cost associated with putting that dish on. And so frequently you have to sign up for a contract for a specific length of time, and that you have to understand, what am I getting for this, and what is the price, and what are the channels that I'm going to get, and then compare it with your other options. It might be cable, it might be not having cable and just getting an antenna to have the televisions provided to you. And then when you get your cable programming, let's just say you're programming. There are different tiers in what you get within each tier. And obviously, the more stuff you get, the more expensive it becomes. And you have to choose and define what your wants are versus what your needs are, and pick out what works best for you. It might be that you don't need all these extra sports channels, or you don't need all these movie channels or whatever, and then you choose accordingly. And then we throw in a whole nother mix, which is now internet providers are providing programming. So we can now watch our computer for our programming. And there are programs available for that where you can sign up for. One of the common ones that we see is Netflix, or there's Hulu Plus, or whatever there are out there, that a certain dollar amount per month. And it may get to the point in time where some people say, I'm a movie watcher. I don't really watch regular TV channels. I don't need cable. I'm better off signing up for one of these other providers over the internet that can stream video, and it's a lot less expensive for me, and that's what I'm going to take. I was just talking to someone the other day who said, I don't even have traditional cable programming. I just signed up for one of the internet providers, and I just watch it on the computer anyway, and that's all I do. So again, we have so many more options out there. The only thing I want to convey to you is that it's really important to be a good consumer and choose what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and then make that decision accordingly. We're at the, I call it more of the lull period of time when it comes to energy, because although we do have air conditioning that's coming up, we have the heat issue, which really gets big for people. And they may have heat supplied to them through natural gas or through electric. But then there are also many rural customers who don't have access to the lines and things to have natural gas, and that they use propane or other types of fuel oil to heat their homes. People need to be aware that at various times during the year, those costs can be much more expensive than at other times during the year. And I think this now, for the fuel oil, propane customers, now is a really good time to start investigating rates, because there are options that you have out there that you can sign up for a contract that will provide you with fuel, propane, at a fixed rate for a certain amount of gallons that you're going to use. And traditionally, it's less expensive during the summer to sign up for those contracts. So now's the perfect time to start investigating what your options are out there. And the thing that a lot of people don't understand is the rates that are charged fluctuate very greatly based on the course of the year. But more importantly, the rates fluctuate greatly between providers. I've seen some rates fluctuate at 50 cents a gallon, $1 a gallon more for one provider as compared to another. So investigate all your different options, and there are many aspects associated with it, such as, do you have automatic delivery? Is it going to be delivered automatically? Do you have to call them? Is it going to be a rate for how much? And then be a good consumer. Look, last winter, we all have to agree that last winter was one of the harshest winters that we've had, temperature-wise, in a long, long time. It might be a good idea to check and see what your usage was during this past winter. Make an estimate based on what your anticipated usage might be in the coming year, and then purchase the number of gallons that you think or anticipate that you might use this coming heating season, and get it at the rate that is most favorable to you. I do know that we received a lot of complaints toward the end of the winter when people were getting out of their contracts because they had already used up their 1,000 gallons, 1,500 gallons, 2,000 gallons. And then they had to buy it on the spot market, buy it as their need required. And they weren't bound by their contract price anymore, because usually it's for a set amount at a certain price. And they were having to pay market rates for their fuel and propane, and it got to be a lot. So it might be a good idea to think about that now and lock in. Now, granted, if, like a few years ago, when rates actually went down during the heating season, people were up in arms saying, I'm stuck with this and the higher rates that I want. Well, you know what? Yes, you were bound based on that particular contract, but understand how the legitimate energy company works. When you sign on to a contract, they immediately go out in the market and buy that fuel, propane and fuel, for you, so that when you need it in November, they will get it at the price that was purchased at. Now they buy it at whatever price they can get it, and then they put their whatever profit in it, and that's the rate that you're being charged. So if the rates go sky high, you're still going to get it at the contract rate. Your provider's going to still get it at the contract rate because you're locked in. The other scenario, and I would say the illegitimate energy providers, and we had this problem, is they don't buy it when you sign on. And if they don't buy it when you sign on, they didn't buy it, they're not in business any longer, but they didn't buy it, and then all of a sudden the price went up. They still had to offer it, give it to the consumer for the price the contract was, but they couldn't get it at that price, and they were losing money. They went out of business. What'd that do? Well, that caused the consumer to be nowhere because they couldn't get their fuel or propane. So my word of advice in being a good consumer is use reputable providers, ones that have been around a while. Do your due diligence, investigate what the price is. If you are comfortable with that price and can get it for that contract, then you don't think twice about it. If rates go down, they go down. If rates go up, they go up, but you know that you've got what you've got at your comfortable price that you agreed to. Nobody can really predict what's going to happen come next year, but at least you can be comfortable saying, I was a good consumer, I made the right choice, and moved on from there. Paying as you go can get quite expensive, and so I would encourage you to find out what your usage is, figure it out, and then pay it. Pay that particular price. If someone has a concern about utility rates, as far as gas, electric, and that sort of thing, that's usually governed by the Public Service Commission. If you're concerned about the manner in which you were solicited or the representations that may or may not have been true that were made, that's a complaint that you can take to our office, the Attorney General's office. We investigate consumer fraud type cases where you might be misled or something like that. So I would encourage you to contact us regarding that. If you have if you need information regarding utility rates and things, the Public Service Commission website is available. You may also be able to contact Cornell Cooperative Extension, and they have wonderful programs here on energy savings, how to reduce your energy consumption or to be more efficient in your energy consumption. And I would encourage you to attend those programs. If anyone has any questions related to utilities, utility service, those sorts of things, I'd be glad to answer them now. Otherwise, thank you for coming, and hopefully we will see all of you later at one of our future programs.
So if there aren't any questions right now, thank you very much, Mike, for helping us understand this very complex topic of utility markets. It's clear that in order to avoid problems, we need to educate ourselves and be wise consumers, and we understand that now. And I hope that this information has helped you to feel more confident about your abilities to make these decisions and what questions to ask when you do confront these decisions. As Mike said, we do have information here about energy conservation, home energy efficiency. Many times we find that reducing your energy usage is really the most effective way to reduce your energy bill and has more impact than which provider or supplier you choose. So we do hold workshops. We have materials in print, materials on our website to help you become more energy efficient and find out more about that. And energy conservation, we like to say, is always in season. We do use a lot of energy in the summertime as well with the air conditioning and electricity. And we would like to provide you with more information if you would like that. If you would also like information on other consumer topics, we have a consumer helpline here. Our phone number is 272-2292. We have staff and volunteers who are happy to provide you with research-based information to help you make good consumer decisions on many different topics. So thank you for joining us today. If you'd like to join us live, next time, our Consumer Issues programs are held on the second Thursday of each month at 11 a.m. They're held here at Cooperative Extension at 615 Willow Avenue in Ithaca. And we hope you will join us live. Our programs, of course, are free and open to the public. Next month, our program will be on will provide us an update on consumer frauds and scams. So it should be very interesting, and we hope you will join us then. Thank you.